Hey everyone, welcome back to the Keep Watching podcast, where we decide what to watch so you don't have to. I'm James,
And I'm Sarah.
and today we're going to be talking about The Summit. It is November 6th, date of recording, November 6th,
Yeah.
2024. I usually ask you how
Uh-huh.
you're doing, but I'm not going to do that today. Instead,
You can guess.
I'm going to share a fun fact about a contestant on this TV show,
Okay.
and you can tell me if you identify with this fun fact.
Okay. All right.
Fun fact about Shweta from the TV show
Uh-huh.
is that she's never been relaxed in her life.
Yeah, I certainly feel like I can relate to that right in this moment. Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Your entire life though, that's a long time.
There has been no, I don't relate to it for my entire life, but right now it certainly feels as though my entire life I've never relaxed.
Okay, I feel that.
And I don't know when I'll relax again, honestly.
Yeah. I feel like I'm more like the Hulk, where I'm always angry. So pretty good at dealing with it.
Oh, so you're just super chill. All right. Okay. You can channel
I mean,
some of that my
I
way.
wouldn't say
That's
Bruce
okay.
Banner's super chill, but he's just learning
outwardly
to deal
though.
with it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'm always angry.
Okay.
Which I'm sure really comes across in this podcast. All right. Yeah, we're talking about the summit today.
Yeah.
I don't think we got any comments this week.
No, not yet.
People might have been busy with other things.
A lot going on right now, so it's okay.
That's all right. All right, let's get right into it then. Oh wait,
Well,
what have we been watching? Wait, I forgot about that step. Okay.
What have you been watching?
Okay, so I finally caught up on Survivor.
Oh, nice.
Well, actually,
that feels like a moment where you can unclench, perperhaps, right?
An episode aired like tonight that I didn't watch, but I'll watch it. I'll watch. I caught
already
up to,
behind again.
Yeah, well, I don't watch it. I don't have time to watch it live anymore, but I caught up the several weeks I was behind. It's still a really, really good TV show. That is, it's the best TV show.
I just wonder what would have to happen for that to not be true for you.
Oh,
they'd have to make some big changes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they went back. They started casting. Yeah, if they casted like some other reality TV shows, I probably wouldn't like it as much. But
okay.
But no, yeah.
I watched the first season of a show called Unreal, which I found on Netflix, and it's from 2015. I think there are 4 seasons and it's done. But it's like a fictional dramatic show that takes place on the set of a reality show very similar to The Bachelor, and the main character is one of the producers, and it kind of shows kind of what goes on behind the scenes at reality shows and how much what actually goes into the final edit is influenced by producers working behind the scenes and like nudging people in directions and like just trying to get them to say crazy stuff. And I actually did like look up like if people felt this was like accurate to like how bad it really gets, and a lot of what I found was like, yeah, this is super accurate to how these kind of shows actually work. As a show in and of itself, it is kind of over dramatic and a little whatever, and maybe not the best show ever, but it is pretty interesting from that perspective, at least. If you've never, I mean, I know you have, but if people have never really considered sort of how folks get nudged behind the scenes or put into positions so that way, production can tell a particular story, I think it was pretty interesting on that front.
Wait, so this is a real fake reality show from the perspective of the producers, or is it? Is it fiction? It's not.
It is a fiction show.
It's fiction, okay.
But it is created by, I think, a former producer of one of these actual reality shows. So it's like the fiction of like behind the scenes at The Bachelor or whatever. Essentially, is what it is.
Okay, yeah.
But also tied into it is a lot of like ridiculous drama with the main character and her personal life or whatever. That is layered on top of that. But yeah.
Yeah. A show like The Bachelor definitely needs this kind of forced drama and stuff. Yeah. Ideally, you can do it by just casting people that do it naturally. But yeah, sometimes.
Like, I've always been cynical of these kinds of shows or whatever, but like this show, I'm like, oh, yeah, this is grosser and more manipulative than I even thought, I think. Like, just it goes a bit beyond. So, but people say it's super accurate, so I don't know. But anyway, it was an interesting watch. I haven't really felt compelled to continue on to season 2, but we'll see.
Okay. Maybe we can figure out if this is happening on the summit as we talk through it.
Ooh, maybe.
Yeah, I would guess the summit's more just like they might get people to say things like confessionals and then kind of twist their words. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
And
it's
there's, well, they do. Well, I mean, that is an interesting thing to consider. Is that um, on the summit they're just out in the open and they don't necessarily have a place to go hide away, right? Like, well, I guess it's
like Survivor.
Survivor.
They just
Yeah,
go. I
far
heard
enough away.
I heard Jeff Probst. I don't know if it was old or new interview, but he talked about how like they always have like somebody. They take them away from camp, but then they always have somebody like making sure nobody's getting
On the
close.
lookout for
Yeah,
anybody else.
yeah.
Yeah.
They always have
Okay.
a lookout to make sure nobody's getting close enough to hear them. But it's not
Hmm.
like they go to like another island to do it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. So
sweet.
that's what I
I
watched
put it on
this
my
week.
list. That sounds interesting. I don't know when I'll get to it, but
I don't think you'll enjoy it from the like rest of the show perspective, like it's kind of dramatic and silly in
like,
that
is
way,
the
but
drama of this fake reality TV show supposed to be compelling simultaneously while you're watching the viewer's perspective, or is it like
yes.
it is?
Well, it's all
Okay,
kind of,
okay.
I mean, it's supposed to be. I don't know. It's just there is this extra layer of stuff on top of it that might not be your jam. I don't know. But it is interesting from the fundamental perspective
There's
of,
four seasons of this show.
yeah.
My God.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like one season might have been enough. I don't know.
You've only watched one season.
Yeah, and the end
Oh,
of the
okay.
first season is quite silly, but that's okay.
Okay. Are they running it back with new seasons of the reality show, or is it
I assume that's
okay?
what's
So they
happening.
finished this fake season of the reality show within the
Yes, yes.
fictional show
Hmm.
about the reality
Yes, yes.
show. we all followed that. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Are you
Yeah.
gonna talk about the summit though?
Yes. Let's talk about the summit.
The summit is on Paramount Plus.
Hmm.
Currently going on. I want to say an episode probably just aired tonight. There might be. I think it's like only 7 episodes long. It's probably close to over. But here's the blurb: 16 strangers embark on a 14-day trek through the perilous New Zealand Alps to reach a distant peak. Each holds part of a $1 million prize, but only those who survive the harsh terrain, Antarctic winds, and intense challenges will win. They face eliminations and twists from the Mountain's Keeper, testing their morale and unity. Their greatest challenge is to stay together and reach the summit on time. Failure means losing the entire prize. Sounds interesting enough.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I watched the commercials for this a lot because it basically was like gonna be it's the show that comes on after Survivor. That's what the show is.
Yeah, yeah.
which has been Amazing Race in the past. They're always trying to come up with it's like their reality TV time slot is 8 to 11 on Wednesday nights. So they're
Got it.
Survivor's always there, but they rotate what the other one is.
Okay.
And yeah, this is the newest. This is the newest one. I thought this was going to be more of just kind of like the struggles of a group of people trying to climb to a summit together.
And less social game.
Yeah, just from watching the commercials that I would watch whenever I got the commercials for the show. So, but then I saw like a trailer for like episode 2, and I saw like, oh, there's gonna be like moral dilemmas and decisions, and then by watching the show finally I realized they're actually voting people out, which is interesting in a different way because you have to balance like personal game with the like actually being able to make it to the top, so you can't just like get rid of people that can carry shit. Like you might need them. So yeah, I had fun watching this. I think it's Amazing Race vibes with like a little bit of more social strategy.
Okay.
Well, Amazing Race almost no social strategy, but yeah, with it has a little bit of social strategy. Actually, it might be more interesting. Like once we talk it through, I think it's actually kind of interesting the social strategy of this game.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, and I think I saw that it was originally an Australian show. I think they've done 2 seasons of that, and now this is, and it was still in New Zealand they were filming. But now this is, I guess, filming in the same place, but with a bunch of Americans. So therefore, American.
I think it's like the same exact summit. I wonder if it could be.
I think it might be. I couldn't find information on that, but yeah.
The Traders US and the Traders UK, they film in the exact same location, and I think they do their filming like almost not
like back to back or something.
I don't know if it's back to back. It might actually be like they stagger it in a way where they're actually all there at the same time, but they never.
Oh, weird.
You never see the other cast. I don't know. It's either that or it's back to back. I forget, but they even have like similar twists and stuff because I think they're all there around the same time. But yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, that's cool. I wonder if you go watch the Australian version. You're like, oh, it's the exact same path. They're doing the exact same trick. That's cool. Yeah. How are we talking about this? But I think first we need to talk about this man Manu Bennett. Do you want to talk about this man?
I mean,
incredible host selection. So good.
Yeah.
Perfect for the show. His voice is incredible. No.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like his voice is very recognizable. Did you look up this guy?
I did not look up this guy.
Australian accent, super deep voice, very cool, badass kind of voice.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't know if this character talks or not, but he is Azog in the Hobbit series, which is like the Orc Lord or something. I don't know. I don't know enough about it.
Well, in that case, he would be in a lot of makeup and therefore hard to identify.
Yeah, but I was wondering, does the orc talk? Maybe it does. Maybe the orc. I didn't watch the Hobbit. I have seen the Hobbit, but the Hobbit movies, but
yeah,
it's been a while, and I didn't really enjoy them that much. I don't remember a lot from them. But I was like, this guy must be a voice actor, right? Like it feels like his voice belongs in Lord of the Rings, which I thought, I was watching this with my wife. I said that to her like before I even looked up who he was, and he just sounds like he would have that like epic fantasy kind of voice. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
great choice.
Yeah, I agree.
Is he the host of the Australian version? He totally could be.
He is not.
Oh, he's not. Wow,
that's some other person.
They have some like high squeaky voice American doing.
I didn't actually watch it. I just looked at the wiki and it said there were 2 seasons of it.
Deep in the southern hemisphere lies a mystical island created by the raw forces of nature. They call it Aotearoa. Wait, how do you pronounce this?
I don't know, but it's what. Yeah, the Maui name for New Zealand.
The land of the long white cloud, aka New Zealand.
Yes.
Wow.
It is a very dramatic opening. It's great. Yeah,
it's awesome. They do a good job of selling this to the point where I've seen enough. I feel like, this shit's hard. I mean, it's especially hard for like the level of fitness that some of these cast members are. Mm-hmm. But I think this is like legitimately hard, even for, I would say, at least
like if you've never climbed a mountain, like this should be I think hard. Like,
yeah.
And like when they first drop everybody in and he comes out and explains what they're gonna do, it sounds like they didn't know they were gonna climb a mountain. Yeah, and that's some bullshit. If I showed up for a show and they're like, haha, you're gonna climb a mountain, I'd be like, fuck you all, I'm going home. I'd not sign up for this.
I would hope they knew the name of the show, at least. Right?
I don't know that they would.
I don't know.
Because I feel like if it's a new season, well, that might be true.
I don't know. That was weird when they were like, I ain't climbing a mountain. That's just crazy. Or whatever they were saying after
it might have just been presented to them as like, yeah, it's this new show. You're gonna be like dropped out in the wilderness, and you're gonna like have to survive or whatever. Or they might just be pretending. I don't know. But like, there's a difference between like survive out in nature and climb a fucking mountain. So it just seems like ridiculous that they wouldn't tell them.
Yeah. My best guess would be like they were told that it would involve hiking, because it feels like everybody here has at least hiked.
Well, like hiking, like literally everybody says they like hiking on like their dating profile, because you could call anything hiking.
Yeah.
Like walking on a trail that is mostly flat. Hey, it's hiking. You're outside, like.
Yeah. But
it does not imply mountain.
I feel like that's like about as much they knew. Like, okay, we're gonna have to be, we're gonna be climbing some hills. The show's called The Summit. But then they show up in the land of the long white cloud, and they're at the base of this mountain, and they're looking up at this mountain in this moment, and they're like, "That's where we're climbing." Because even on TV, I don't think it like really you get the sense that you would if you were there, like how insane it looks to think like I'm standing here and in 14 days I'm gonna be up there. Nah,
you hope you're gonna be up there in 14 days.
That's insane. So I think some of their reactions were probably genuine. Like they didn't really, if you've never climbed a mountain before, it's hard to really visualize how intimidating it would look once you're actually there. Yeah.
And then they do like an infographic of like, here's the map and here's the trail they're gonna take, and it is over 100 miles, and this route is like truly crazy. The way it like goes up a hill and then down
Yeah.
into a gorge and up a thing and around a stuff and through a lake, and it's just like this can't be the most efficient way to get up this fucking
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I know nothing about mountain climbing. It didn't seem. I ended up watching this episode twice, once taking notes and once without. And the first time I was like, yeah, this doesn't feel like it would be the fastest way to get up this mountain. But then when I watched the second time and I kind of paid attention to it, it was like, oh, I could like, but it's at least it's gonna change like the terrain or the situation like for each episode. I think is how it's kind of designed.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna go up just to go across, and then go down to go back up, to go back down, to cross a river, to go back up, to cross a lake, to go across some other thing, and then finally climb up like the icy part of the mountain.
Now,
like, the last day.
maybe that is a legitimate route. I know nothing of mountain climbing. It probably
going
is
up
insane.
to go back down, to go back up, to go back down doesn't feel
that
right.
does seem ridiculous.
It doesn't feel right, no.
And they also don't start them like at the foot of the mountain. They're like, here, walk across this big ass march first, whatever. Like, it's just inefficient all around.
Yeah. I mean, they could be doing some sort of like legit like trail experience. Like I don't think these are.
But
they're not.
Is no trail. Is the
there's
thing
no
too.
trail
Like,
in a sense that like this is not a public thing that people are doing all the time. But I think like people that are into like climbing mountains, there's like a community of people that like.
This might be the established route.
Established route or like experience or whatever. I feel like somebody has done this before, and that's why maybe
that's true.
The show is like, okay, we'll use this trail. I don't know. I assume they would have talked to like some experts about this.
I would hope
beforehand.
Well, they had season 1 and 2 of the Australian version to test it out, so there you go.
They just did it first. They're experts now. Yeah. So there's 16 people on the show. High elevation, sub-zero temperatures, and then. Also, Manu tells them that their every move will be tracked by the mountain keeper.
Yeah, he does not explain what this mountain keeper is other than like...
Because this mountain has eyes.
And it'll like determine if you're worthy or not. So like the way he describes it is like some mythological creature. It is a man in a helicopter. Like it's just kind of silly. But he doesn't explain it to them.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. We always do this when I start a new show. Like, at what point in the show did they understand the rules, or even know what was going on?
Well, like I feel like we get the film's introduction, and he's like, "Okay, now you go." But I have a feeling like right then, or before then, they were given some sort of class about like, here's how you climb a fucking mountain. Because like later on, when they're going up somewhere, they start saying stuff about like there's some little phrase about like grabbing green instead of brown grass or whatever.
Their training exercises or whatever.
Yeah, so like that had to have been that had to have been from a shared experience when they were taught how to not die on this mountain. And I feel like that happens pretty close to the beginning of this actual show.
Yeah. But the mountain's keeper, it's a helicopter, but basically the helicopter is going to show up at not scheduled or like certain points on the trail. The mountain's keeper is gonna like drop a bag down to them, and they have to open it up, and it'll be some sort of twist or dilemma that they have to deal with. Is in the 2 episodes I've watched. That is all that this helicopter has done. Because we're gonna have a medevac in this first episode, and they bring in a medevac helicopter, which is not the mountain's keeper.
Yes, the mountain's keeper will not help you if you're in trouble. Yeah. Just gives you tasks to prove your worthiness.
Well, they can't medevac with the mountain's keeper, because then how are they going to keep their eyes on the mountain?
That's true.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Everyone's carrying their share of $1 million. That's $62,500.
Yes. Like literally, they have bags of money in their backpacks.
Yeah. It looked like real money, right?
Yeah.
It did, yeah. I guess it might be. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, it might still be fake, but
it's all wrapped in like plastic, so like theoretically they can't destroy it. But I mean, they dropped their bag off the side of the mountain at some point. I don't know. I guess it's like 60. I mean, they lose the money. I guess the show was going to lose it either way.
I guess, yeah.
If someone is forced to quit or gets medevaced, that person's money is lost from the prize pool.
Yes.
So not necessarily gonna have $1 million at the end of this thing.
Right. And gives you some sort of incentive to keep people going and not just be like, fuck you, you can't keep up, I don't care.
I think this show is definitely a heavy, like, you have to, at least by the time you realize what the hell you're actually doing on the show, you kind of have to think of, okay, I'm doing this for like the experience, because some of these people they're just not gonna make it, right? They're just
absolutely.
They have no chance. They're not gonna make it. But it's about the experience and the journey and trying to make it as far as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's kind of interesting. I would love to be on
Yeah.
the show, by the way. I'm just gonna say,
Of
right
course
now.
you would.
This,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I don't know if I could do it. I'll be honest, but I feel like I could, and I feel like it would be very hard, and it would feel like it would feel so good to have done this and to do it with people. I
wouldn't want to. For you,
I'm not a person. Yeah, I'm not a person that's like, I'm gonna go out and do this by myself. But like doing it with a group of people and having this experience and getting to play a social game on top of that along the way. Yeah, this would be so much fun.
Yeah, I love that for you. This is my nightmare.
It's your nightmare.
Many things are my nightmare. This is one of them.
Okay. All right, but then along the way, you talked about the checkpoints, right? I think there's 9 checkpoints.
Yeah, that was not made clear, I think, until later.
I think it's on the map when they showed it, but yeah.
Yeah, like they make it seem like, oh, every day you're gonna get to a checkpoint, and that's where you can rest in a tent and get food and feel like slightly like a human. But if you don't make it to that one of those before nightfall, you have to just camp where you are in the
bivvy camp.
Bivvy camp. They have a little sleeping bag that zips all up around them. They're not carrying tents with them, and then they just have to eat the freeze dried food or whatever it was that they are bringing with them. They don't get to restock until they get to a checkpoint.
Yeah, I think that is this. I mean, I don't know if it's to this extent, but that is kind of how people climb mountains, though. I think it's.
Oh yeah, definitely.
They have people go out, or they have helicopters or whatever fly out things that they'll need along the way.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way to do it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because you can carry everything you needed over the entire experience. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was about 120 miles, 14 days. You're going 10 miles a day. Doesn't sound too bad, but the elevation changes makes it much harder.
Like the first day includes a 2,000-foot incline. So yeah,
that legitimately looks steep though. That was kind of on this first episode. It's steep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's only 9 checkpoints, but it's 14 days, so I don't think the show really thought they're gonna hit a checkpoint every day, but it's just in general, that's kind of the goal of the group each day is let's get to the checkpoint.
I think they set out with this expectation that at the end of the first day they would meet a checkpoint or get to a checkpoint, and then just because other than the brief flyover of the map, it wasn't said, oh, there are 9 checkpoints. I just assumed that they gave them more checkpoints than you would a normal mountain climbing team or whatever.
Probably, yeah.
But no, it is less. They're not intended to get between each of them every day, because then if you don't make the first one, then by the time you get to the checkpoint the next day, it's not time to stop, so you wouldn't sleep in the tent anyway, and it would just not work out. You'd just be always camping on the side of a hill without a tent or whatever. So
those bivvy sleeping bags though, they looked kind of cozy though, didn't they?
They looked claustrophobic as hell. I need to
coffin-y,
I need to move around in my sleep. I cannot. I would roll off the side of a mountain, honestly. I do not belong in this scenario at all.
Yeah, what if they have to set up bivvy camp later in some crazy spot? That'd be great. Yeah. Wow.
That would be terrifying.
I don't think they're going to have to do that. I don't think they're going to have to do that.
Yeah, not stake their selves to the side of a cliff.
Just stake your net to the side of the cliff. Just sleep in the net.
Oof, horrifying.
Those who reach the summit in the 14 days will get their portion of the prize pool that remains. But basically, they can only travel as fast as their slowest member.
Yeah, because they all have to stay together.
Yeah, you can't check into the checkpoint until everybody's there. So there's no point in going ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the checkpoint, each time you get to a checkpoint, you have, at least in this first episode, you have to vote somebody out of the group.
Right.
But when you vote somebody out of the group, you don't lose the prize money. You get to redisperse it to everybody that's still in the game.
Yes.
So, but I feel like they didn't know that, or at least I didn't know that until they actually got to the first checkpoint.
Yeah.
Because that kind of changes the way you think about the dilemma. that we're gonna get in episode 1.
Mm-hmm. And then I think the last thing is like they don't have a guide. They like get handed a map, and then he's like, "Okay, you took the map. You're the leader. Go, go. There's a mountain. Go for it."
Would you be the map person, Sarah?
No, not at all.
No, I'd be the map person. Why
But
not?
the unsung heroes of the show have to be the camera crew who are also hiking up this fucking
Oh yeah, they're
mountain, but like
monsters.
backwards and like, yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah, that's actually crazy to think about. I mean, they probably have more food, or
I mean,
I
but
don't
they're
know if they have.
carrying heavy ass equipment. There are
Yeah,
probably like extra people carrying supplies for the camera crew, maybe, or whatever. I don't know. Hard
yeah.
to say.
It's actually kind of wild to think about the production of this. Actually, no, you mentioned it, yeah.
And I guess they do probably have like the medical guy like hiking with them too, because when
Oh,
that
he's
comes
always
up,
there.
like he
Yeah,
comes there like real fast. So there's like a weird entourage following these
yeah.
folks up this mountain.
That's true for all show like
All
Survivor. It's
shows,
weird
yeah.
to think about. They've a few times kind of like broke that wall to like
Mm-hmm.
show certain situations. Like a meta,
Like a behind the scenes
yeah,
shot or
like one
something.
time in Survivor, this guy was like he was like really overheated, and they were basically just like drop the cameras, all hands on deck. We need to get this guy cooled off as fast as possible. So they just like set up a camera, and they ended up showing in the episode like how many people that
Yeah.
were there um to that are there doing cameras or mic work or producers
Mm-hmm.
or medical people. It was like it
Yeah.
was really like jarring to see for the first time in like 30 years or whenever it happened.
Mm-hmm.
30 seasons, yeah. Yes. Anything else?
Oh, I mean, I think
That's I think that's
that covers
It sounds
the
like a ton of fun.
format.
It sounds like a ton of fun. I'm so excited.
Okay.
How do you want to talk about this? You want to go through like the events along the way, and
Sure.
then we'll talk about the people when they come up. Some people not super big in
Mm-hmm.
episode 1,
Yeah, yeah.
but I have
We
all
can
the
just talk about the
votes.
people that show up.
And
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Where do we start? You talked about
Well, I guess first
Theron.
off,
Theron.
yeah, Theron gets excited, takes the map, and is told he is the leader. So,
This is just like Last Love. Whoever reads the
mm-hmm.
thing. Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
you have to
Oh,
do the
you're in
first.
charge.
You're first for the pick'em or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, Theron as the leader, they're gonna elect leaders in different scenarios later. But
Yeah.
Theron had no responsibilities whatsoever, right? It wasn't like he had to be the one to read the map.
Yeah, I guess that's true. He just then was the one to read the map and lead the way.
He held the map. I couldn't tell if he was in. The first thing he says when Manu's like, "All right, your time starts now. Get going," and he's like, "All right, who knows how to read a map?" But I couldn't tell if he was like kidding. But then later he is holding the map, and then they're gonna go the wrong way for like 45 minutes. They're got to backtrack, and then he puts the map down, and then he says like, "Oh, we thought this was this, but it's actually this,"
Yeah.
and he's like showing it to people. So I couldn't tell if he
There was probably a
was-
consensus, multiple people involved in
I couldn't tell if
figuring this out. Yeah.
he decided where they wanted to go, but he wanted to make it a we thing because he messed up, or more likely, I feel like a lot of people looked at the map, decided they should go
Yeah.
that way, and then he was like, "Oh, we the map people thought it was this way," but
Like, I don't think anybody really talks shit about him either for like having gone the like it doesn't come up as a point of a reason to like pick him to get rid of or anything.
yeah, people are pissed that they went the wrong way, but no one ever, I think, called Theron out by name or
Right.
anybody out by name for being like, "This is the person that read the map wrong."
Yeah, it was just oh man, this really sucks
Yeah,
that we have to go back. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I would have such a low tolerance. Well, the people that are like complaining about people going slow would trigger me so much.
Yeah.
It's just
Okay.
like, people have limitations to the speed at which they can climb a hill, It's like, what are you gonna do?
But these are hyper competitive folks who are like, these
yeah.
people are slowing me down.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it, but I get
Yeah,
it
they're
from like
kind of
these are the
assholes about it,
people-
yeah.
these people were cast on the show, yeah, or just like, we went the wrong way. We got to backtrack. What are we gonna do? I wouldn't like need to have a conversation with somebody where we like talk about how this sucks. It's like, yeah. We don't have to talk about how it sucks. It sucks.
Like, if you had to predict like how close to 14 days they'll arrive, like, I don't think production is gonna give them a time frame where it's like, oh, they're not even gonna get close, Like, I feel like production wants them to get to the peak, right? So it's not
Yeah, it would be
maybe as urgent
weird.
as everybody feels it is, you know?
Yeah, it would be weird if like nobody won.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if like they showed enough mistakes, and I at some
Mm.
point, well, we'll get to how they choose to vote at the end of this. But like, if somebody is slow and they have no chance of doing it in 14 days, and you never vote them out, like at some point, I feel like production just be like, well, this is what you get, like
Yeah.
not not acknowledging that. Like I would hope that there is an actual threat that if they go really slow, that production will be like, yeah, well, you're not gonna get the money. You're like, you're not if you, you're not taking us seriously or whatever.
Well, I think they probably have like producers and like the host, whenever he talks to them, is like, you're not going fast enough, you're not meeting pace. And so the producers are also probably like trying to hurry them along because like they want this dramatic moment of the fast people versus the slow people or whatever. I just think that like much in the way that I think it was on Traders, every single like challenge comes down to ooh the last second, and then they make it. Or what was it? The snake.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
like everything
yeah.
just comes down to this ooh dramatically just in time.
Oh,
I feel
they'll
like
definitely
that's
do
how
that.
the show is actually gonna be. Like, oh, we made it to the summit just in time,
Oh, you
regardless
think
of
it's
how
gonna
much
be
time
like,
it actually
you'll think they'll
takes.
make it seem like, oh, they got there in seconds. I don't know if they'll do that, but
Not seconds, but just like, well, we're starting out on our last day. I'm not sure if we're gonna make it by sunset or whatever, like
yeah. The other
I
thing they
think they're
could
gonna
do is
play it out.
like, if it takes them an extra day, they could just edit it like they made it. They could do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, exactly.
Although
And
I
like
mean
they
that.
have to stop them so often to like do their little like confessional moments or whatever. Like production takes up a chunk of their day too. Like it's
That's definitely true. Yeah, there's like it's weird. Like when they leave the checkpoint in episode 2, it feels like they wake up and I'm like, why aren't they hiking yet? It's
yeah.
like they spend the time to go like swimming in this like waterfall that's near the first checkpoint, and like as like a shower.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
but I'm like, it's light out, you could be moving, but like I'm sure
Yeah, yeah.
production's like, it's not time to move yet, so they're like, we
Right.
might as well go take a shower in this.
Mhm.
Yeah, but if I think that, yeah, you're right, like the time crunch is a little artificial, and like they're not going to make it to the first checkpoint in the first day. Did production really expect them to get to the first checkpoint in the first day?
Probably not, because
Probably
they
not.
wanted to explain the bevy camps or whatever,
Yeah,
so
it's probably somewhat structured around production's expectations. But there's probably, yeah, I don't even know if they would. It might be hard to extend the length of the show, right? Because it's like, hey, we have 14 days to do this.
maybe. I
I'm
don't know.
sure it's a high cost and planning to, especially in the later things, like they'll be in the
Mm,
mountain. It could get dangerous depending on
yeah.
weather and stuff. So yeah,
Well, like actually, depending on weather, they might have a day where they're just not allowed to climb. Like they have
that
to
could
hunker
happen.
down and wait for things, So
Maybe,
I
I don't
don't I
know.
don't think those would count against them either.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It feels like
possible.
it's probably pretty artificial, but has a lot of, production elements making them think it's important to keep moving just to
Yeah.
ratchet up that tension.
Where were we? Theron got the map. He's the first
Yes.
leader.
So we do meet Amy pretty early on, who is
Amy got a big edit in episode 1. Yeah.
yeah, like when they're even getting the whole thing described to them, she starts just crying because she's excited that she's finally like on an adventure for herself. She's done that whole like mom of three thing for and like not taking care of what she wants for however many years, and now she's on an adventure and it's all very
Yeah.
like finding herself or whatever. So she comes up a
Yeah.
lot.
Everybody gets like a backstory, but it did feel kind of like Amy's was like, oh, you're supposed to really connect with her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's one of like the quote unquote slow people. So
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I got my eye on Amy to see what she's doing on the show. She's a bank manager now. 46-year-old bank
Yes.
manager. Theron is a waiter. He's 29 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about Shweta next.
Let's talk about Shweta.
Yeah. Shweta is a corporate strategist, 20 years old. So
28?
28, yeah. Nobody's like super young. I think
Yeah, I
27
think
is the youngest.
27 is the youngest, yeah. And then our oldest is like 56.
Yeah. So actually, Theron, on day 2, when we get to day 2, Theron gives the map to Shweta because he doesn't want to get blamed. They get lost. Also,
Yeah.
Theron is afraid of heights, which is an amazing casting choice.
Yes.
Yes, so good.
Absolutely.
And it's a very amazing race, like, to do, because
Mm.
Amazing Race will cast people that are afraid of heights. I guess it's a pretty common fear, anyways.
Yeah.
A lot of people have it, but and then they'll do like a bungee jumping, like
Mm.
a mandatory bungee jumping thing if you want to continue in the race. And it's like, yeah.
Also, I feel like some of the circumstances they put them in, like anybody would be afraid of the heights in that situation. You
Yeah, it's
know?
not like it's not like there's a varying degrees of afraid of heights for sure, right? A
Yeah.
lot of people
Yeah.
would be like, I'm
Definitely.
afraid of heights, but then somebody that's like actually afraid of heights, like there's a difference, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but Shweta and Theron kind of make a connection early together.
Yeah, because he's ready to strategize, right? And he's like,
Yeah,
we should
Theron
team
is
up.
out of the gate very hot. He's like, some people think this is about working together or whatever, but this is definitely not what it is. And Shweta also like truly does not care about anybody else but herself. So they really
Hmm.
bond in that way about like
Yeah.
having no compassion whatsoever.
Yeah.
This is at least how they are depicted on the show, especially
Yes.
Shweta, I would
Yes.
say.
Oh yeah, she gets a. I want to say a bitchy edit. Is that fair to say?
Uh, I would say self-absorbed and lack of sympathy. I don't know
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Potato.
it's not
Potato.
a word I
Pretty
would
close.
use, but okay. Yeah, because if we move to probably the biggest event in the first episode is Tony, who is
Yes.
going to be our first medevac on the show. He's basically gonna just collapse, and then medical's gonna come in. But Tony is a media director, 36 years old, but he's
Hmm.
somebody that has basically been overweight his entire life.
Yes, and in recent years, he's lost a bunch
He's
to
lost a
like
bunch, yeah.
be
But
there for his kids.
I think he tells us his high was 406 pounds, and now
Yeah.
he's at 260 pounds. So he's lost
Hmm.
a ton of weight, and he's
Yeah.
still on the heavy side.
Hmm.
He tells us he ran a marathon.
Yeah.
Do that's very impressive.
Do you?
I would say very
Okay.
impressive no matter what. Did he?
Hmm.
I find it kind of I kind of find it hard to believe that he like ran it, like the whole thing.
I mean, everybody who finishes a marathon says they ran it, and
Okay.
you pace
I guess
yourself
that's
and
not
go
what I
through
would say.
different speeds.
I would be like, yeah, I did the marathon. That's what I would say.
Well, I think it's the common verbiage is to say I ran a
Either way,
marathon.
it's
Yeah.
impressive. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I
Absolutely.
walked like 20 miles once without training, and
Hmm.
the last like couple miles was so painful. So
Yeah.
like I
Hmm.
could barely move my legs. So, and that's a marathon's longer than that. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
impressive either way.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, this is I'm not sure what the terrain was like when he ran the marathon, but Tony is not doing good with the slope of this first climb.
Well, yeah, it's the slope, and also he's trying to keep pace with other people. Like, in a marathon, you can pace yourself, and he's probably pushing himself to make sure he doesn't look like he's one of the slow guys, doesn't want to get voted out, that sort of thing, or let people down or whatever. So,
But Tony was
yeah,
never gonna make it 14 days into the show, right? There was no chance. But he's here, and
yeah,
it's about the
maybe,
story and the
yeah,
journey. Like
uh-huh,
I think it sucks that Tony doesn't even make it to like the first checkpoint.
yeah,
I think they had thought he could make it that far, and just yeah, I think it would have been it would have been nice to see Tony make it further, but
oh yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
terms of actually getting the money on the show, I would say he never really had a chance.
Mm-hmm. And like medical comes in and checks him out and is like they think it's his heart or something, and so they're like, we got to get you out of here, and he's just like begging them to stay.
Yeah,
He's
well, he
like,
doesn't even remember falling down.
yeah, that's a problem.
And he kind of responds. He's kind of like unresponsive when they're asking where it hurts, and then he like points to his chest. I don't know if he remembers
Yeah.
pointing to his chest.
Mm-hmm.
If this was Survivor, I'd be pretty like I'd be tearing up watching this, but
Yeah.
yeah, he never really had a chance. But I've seen this scene on Survivor before where it's very emotional for me when there's
Mm-hmm.
actually a guy from my hometown who was on
Yeah.
Survivor. and he got medevaced in this very similar way, where he just kind
Mm.
of collapsed in a challenge, and his blood pressure just like dropped whenever they
Oh,
would like
yeah.
sit him up, and he like didn't even remember
Mm.
like a lot of the process, and all he remembers is like Jeff telling him that he wasn't allowed to play, and he was like begging them to like be
Yeah.
like, no, I'm fine, I just need to like rest for a second. So much, in fact, that he when he got back, he like couldn't even tell his wife what actually happened. He was just like, yeah, I had an incident and I had to get medevaced or whatever.
Yeah.
That's all he was able to tell his wife. And then they're watching it on TV, and his wife is the story he tells is his wife is telling him, "You're dead. You are dead." Like his eyes are, because in the show his eyes are like rolling into the back of his head, and he like
Oh, jeez.
falling to the ground. It looks like very, very scary. But like even
Yeah.
sitting right next to them watching the show, she's like, "Oh my god, you are dead." Like
Oh.
that's how bad it was, but you don't remember it. You don't remember how bad it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
It's so much worse for us. Except if you're Shweta.
Oh, yeah.
If you're Shweta, you're like, what are we doing here? Why don't we just get up and leave? Like maybe his glucose levels are just low. Like give him a candy bar.
I think she's even like, I think he just wanted to take a little break. Like,
Yeah.
like this. Why are we waiting for
He
him?
just couldn't keep up with us, so he's acting like he needs to take a break.
Meanwhile, this man is begging to stay on the show. Yeah.
So, yeah, really bad at it for Shweta.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not ideal.
What level of manipulation was done to make her like the villain, but
Yeah.
did
Well,
not
did
not look good.
That wasn't like a confessional, right? That was her just talking to somebody.
It was
like,
a little
nearby
like
her.
cut up in a way where like
that is true.
Again, like I don't say I'm like great with words, and I felt a part of what she was saying was a little bit like maybe what she's saying isn't actually how she's feeling, but she's not saying it in the right way, or kind of thing. But it didn't look good. Yeah, that's all I'll say.
Yeah.
All right. So Tony's gone. We lose Tony's money, so we're down to $937,500 in the prize pool.
Mm-hmm.
What's weird about this show is like, at least how I was thinking about it at this point was like, it doesn't really like if everybody makes it to the top, right? Somehow. I mean, they have to vote each other out, but we don't really know that yet. Like, I only win the money I'm carrying because we haven't evenly split, which is $62,500. So at no point.
So I don't know that that's the truth, though. But continue with your thought.
Yeah, but so at no point was it like it never felt like, oh, I'm incentivized to get more people to the top because if I'm the only one to make it, I also only win 60. Like I only win the money that's in my backpack, and then if everybody gets to the top, then there's more money that makes it to the top, but I have to split it 15 ways or 16 ways, so I get the same amount of money, right? So going in this like dilemma that they're gonna have, I wasn't thinking about it in the proper way. What were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say that in seeing the Wikipedia page for the Australian version of this, there is a chart for each of the seasons that outlines the remaining prize money, and then at the end there's a column for decision, and it says unequally split. So there may be some sort of decision that they have to make at the end that changes how the money is divided up. So I don't know. It might not even be.
They can have a twist at the end. They could have.
Yeah, it sounds like there might be.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen like seasons of the challenge where like the winners could like decide if they wanted to like share with second place, you know. I don't know how they would decide like, oh, somebody deserves more of the money. Maybe they have a vote at the end for. It could be like some sort of social vote where you have to vote for somebody you have to vote for somebody, and then you might win like a portion of the votes you get or something. I don't know.
Oh,
it could be something like that.
I
don't know. But yeah, in general, I wasn't seeing the value of like, okay, if I'm a fast person, right? If I'm not in the slow pack, right? What incentive do I have to help them other than just being a good person? In the same sense, though, you could say, well, I'm not really competing against them if I win the same.
Like you're not losing anything.
Yeah, you're not losing money if they stay in the game.
You are just losing money if they stop you from getting to the peak in the time limit.
So I kind of like that aspect. I think, at least from what I've seen so far, it does seem like there is an incentive to keep people in the game because they will be things later in the game which might allow you to like get their money into your prize pool. Which is what the checkpoints are, but there could even be more twists that the Mountain's Keeper drops that could change how the money is carried. So keeping more money in the game
Seems like a better idea.
could benefit in the long run. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think like Manu says anything in the beginning explaining that you could take other people's money, but the way he kept emphasizing like if they quit, they and their money is gone, like made it feel like, oh, I do want their money to get to the top for some reason, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Like just it kept being emphasized in that way.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anybody else we want to highlight on the way up to this first? They're not up to the first bivy camp. Manu's going to intercept them with.
Yeah, I don't think anything else really happens.
I'll point out. I'd say Robert. Robert is an educator, 42 years old, but he's a former camp counselor. So he has. How did Dusty put it? Dusty in a confessional says Robert has fake camp counselor energy.
Yeah, but he has actual camp counselor energy because he was one.
Yeah, but from Dusty's perspective, camp counselor energy in general is fake camp counselor energy, which I kind of understand. I know what he means.
He is like, I am an adult. Don't talk to me like I am a child. You have to take care of
Dusty is probably my favorite so far.
Okay. At this point, I was like, oh, I'm going to be annoyed at Dusty. But then we do get a lot of scenes of him, like, in the back helping Amy or the other moms. And
Dusty is hard on people in confessionals, but he's nice and helps them not in confessionals. So he actually knows what he's doing, whereas other people are like, can we just, like, move faster? Like, can't you just, like, get more athletic all of a sudden, please? Like, can you just do that for me? Yeah. So Robert said early on, they like walk through this wet area, and then Robert's like, all right, we're going to take a sock ring out break. I think that's a good idea. Your feet are your wheels, and you don't want to get a flat tire.
I mean, he's not wrong. You don't want to hike in wet socks if you can help it,
I get Dusty, though. I totally identify with Dusty's perspective of this, though, where I'm just like, I don't need the analogy. Just be like, hey, my socks are wet, guys. I think all our socks are wet. Can we just stop and wring them out? And I'd be like, that makes a lot of sense. Let's do that. You don't have to be like, it doesn't have to be this like big speech and we have to give a reason and really debate.
I don't know. I think like sometimes people who work with kids like have a hard time turning it off.
That's what it is.
Like,
I know that's what it is.
That's just who they are,
Yeah, but Dusty didn't say like, oh, I fucking hate this guy. It was just like, yeah, I don't like this aspect of what he's doing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I get that. So it's Robert and Dusty. Dusty's a real estate agent, 28 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In the next episode, he claims that he's not. Real estate agents get a bad reputation, but he's not one of the.
Oh, but he's not one of those. Yeah. Okay. Sure, that's what they all say, Dusty.
I have other stuff on Dusty. Let's just talk about it. Dusty is also glad when they don't make it to the first checkpoint on day one. This is in confessional, though. Because he says it's going to set a fire underneath some folks' butts so that they start moving faster. But again, it's only in confessional. He didn't.
Oh, well, he does. He ends up talking shit to, I think, Shweta and Robert about how, like there's like 4 people in the back who are just really holding us up, who like are giving like 90%, but they could give 100%. So
does he say it like that? I remember him saying something about, he does say like, oh, there are like 2/3 of us probably can make it to the top, but there are people that
it's hard to tell exactly, I guess, what he says to them in this moment, because some of it is in confessional and some of it is to them, and then it kind of, the way they edit it, it is a little hard to tell exactly what he says in front of people, but he does at least express like, the people in the back are not gonna make it up this
that's what he should be. And he's talking to Shweta and Theron, who are team quick, faster people. That's what you need to be saying, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if they know about the voting thing, but like, you have to be selling like, oh yeah, we're the fast people. We should stick together.
And I guess it's true, if he spent the whole time like helping people in the back, he's got to like use this time to smooth with the people in the front.
Yeah, there you go.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and then he's gonna carry Bo. Let's talk about Bo. Bo is the 52-year-old basketball coach.
Yes, and he is slowing things down a bit.
Yeah, he looks a lot like Al from Home Improvement, but like older with white hair. That's how I.
Okay.
But he's also wearing a purple Hawaiian shirt. That's a whole. It's a whole thing. With
it's a whole thing. Yeah.
Purple bandana. He says something about like he doesn't want to stand out, but he does want people to recognize him. It's almost like he wants to stand out, but he doesn't want to like act like he's a person that wants to stand out, but he wants to stand
Yeah.
out, you know.
Well, he stands out by virtue of being. I don't think he's the oldest, but he looks the
Oh, is
oldest.
he not the oldest? Who's the oldest?
Yeah, I think Janine is actually 56.
Oh, Janine. I did not write. Oh, I never saw her age. Okay. Oh, 56, Janine. Okay, nice. Janine. I didn't know she was that old. Do we need to get Janine and Bo on Last Love?
Sure. Well, I don't
Ooh.
know. I think Bo is actually married still. I don't know what
Bo
Janine's
might
status
clean
is,
up on
but
Fast Love, though. I mean, Last Love, Fast Love. Bo would not be great at Fast Love.
well, I don't know. In different
Well, I don't know,
contexts, who knows?
okay.
As long as love doesn't involve climbing a mountain, he might be faster. I don't know.
Although Bo's getting there. I mean, okay, so Dusty on day 2 is going to help Bo by carrying his bag. So this is the first.
Yes.
They are allowed to carry each other's bags,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't mean that Dusty owns Bo's money. So if Bo like quits,
Right.
the bag's still gone.
Exactly. Yeah. And we do see, I think, around this time, this is where their tensions are rising on day 2 between the front and the back. You see Theron and I believe it's Rose are kind of shouting. Like, it seems like the front has stopped to wait for the back to move up, and then as soon as they caught up, the front wanted to leave, and the back was like, wait, we just got here, we need to rest, and the front is upset about all the resting.
Yes.
So there's some like raised voices.
You want to go through these
sure.
quote-unquote teams? So this is who I am. Maybe you can tell me if any of this doesn't sound right.
Okay.
But even if we look at before the Tony evac, right? It was the slow versus the fast was forming pretty quick. So this is team slow that I have.
Okay.
I have Rose, Amy. Was Jeannie in?
I think she was at least hanging out with the mom crew.
Yeah, she's one of the older ones. Yeah, and then Bo and Patty, and then Tony, who we lost. That was team slow. Rose, Jenny, and Amy are like, one of them says at one point, the mom squad. There's a bit of a mom squad alliance or camaraderie going on back in the slow pack, the slow team pack.
Yes.
And then I'm going to categorize the fast team as the people that go ahead of the slow team and aren't helping them. That's what I'm going to. Yeah. And I have 4 people in this group. I have Theron, Jenny, Shweta, and Dennis. I threw in this group as these were all the people that at some point in the show, they were just kind of up ahead and being like, we gotta move it faster, people. Like that they at least had a moment like that. And then there's these like middle people, which I don't know if they're slow or fast. Either they're slow, but we're not getting the edit that they're slow, or they're fast, but we're not getting the edit that they're fast and like upset with the slow people.
Yeah. They might just be happy they're not like in any sort of like noticeable position.
Yeah. And I have that group as Becky Lee, Nick, Robert, and Pumpkin.
Yeah.
Pumpkin.
Not Pumpkin, but Pumpkin.
And then I have Jeff and Dusty as a whole separate team called the team that's probably going to win the show unless they get voted out. Because these two guys look like, they could do this no problem, probably by themselves.
Okay.
Everybody else, the other people could do it too, but they just don't look like super athletic. But Jeff and Dusty look very in shape and ready to do this.
Yeah. And that's discounting all of the social aspects. Yeah.
Socially, I would put Jeff and Dusty in that middle pack where they're clearly like Jeff and Dusty could make Aaron and Shweta feel like they're the slow people if they wanted to.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like if it was only Jeff and Dusty and the fast team and the rest of the fast team would be the slow team.
Yeah. If they had no vibes for helping people. Yeah.
Yeah. The fast team would be the slow team if Jeff and Dusty wanted to make them the slow team. And they would be saying the exact same shit that the slow team is saying to Jeff and Dusty. They'd be like, guys, we can't go keep up with you. You guys are like super in shape. You gotta hold back for us and help us out. Okay, so that's about right, I think. Okay, so they're gonna get to some point and Manu's just standing there. How is Manu getting from place to place? Is he traveling with them?
Yeah.
Or are they just like dropping it? Is he like getting helicoptered in?
Oh, he's getting helicoptered in, yeah.
But like the helicopter can't land at these spots, so they have to be like you think he's like they're like repelling him out of helicopters into these
I could
spots.
see this man repelling out of a
Mm.
helicopter.
They,
Absolutely.
I guess so. It's just a lot of repelling out of helicopters. But we didn't see how Tony was medevac. Like, did they have to put him in like a line and wheel him up to the helicopter, or are these like special helicopters
Oh,
that can kind of like land
I don't
on
know.
weird terrain somehow? I don't know. We didn't get to see that
It was
process.
unclear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the whole how is production traveling is kind of interesting and unknown here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
but Manu's just standing there.
Yeah, they like come over the top of like to the top of a little flat area, and
Yeah,
they're like, "Oh, he's here. We must be at the checkpoint because this is at the end of day one."
yeah. There's a decent chance this is predetermined, right? As like, because
It
it
was
is
nice and
kind of
flat and picturesque, but it was also the right time of day.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's also I feel like it's very like you kind of want them to have to set up a bivy camp before they get to the first checkpoint because it kind of
Yeah, I would think
establishes
so.
kind of like the how the show is going to go. Like if they just get to the
Mm-hmm.
checkpoint, I think they want to make the show seem difficult, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
it is difficult, but I think they want to like it to feel extremely difficult. So I feel like they kind of don't want them to get to the checkpoint on the first one because it'd be like, oh, they didn't make it. They got to set these bivy camps, and then they get the whole
I also
scene.
think, yeah, yeah. I also think that if this is an established like path that normal mountain climbers would take, you wouldn't have a checkpoint on the first day, likely, right? Like it's a spot to like resupply up and
Yeah.
whatever. So like it seems like a waste to have it on the first day anyway. So if it's an authentic checkpoint, it makes sense that they wouldn't reach it then.
You think the checkpoints are authentic checkpoints? That's an interesting
I don't know
question.
if they are. And if they aren't, I think they would probably just strategically put it out of range of the first day regardless.
To me, I kind of assumed the checkpoints were very production
They
decided. I
might
mean,
be.
they're
I don't
limited
know.
by the terrain in which where they can have them, but
Hmm.
I feel like it would be very kind of mapped out where it's like they should only be like here's about where they should be across the 14 days, and it's like okay, here's where we'll
Hmm.
put all the checkpoints to like kind of stagger the show out because they
Right.
usually they know how many episodes your show is going to be before you film. Maybe not, but because it is. I think it's only a 7 episode show. Let me look it up to make sure. I think it's only a 7 episode show.
Oh, I
But
think
it's
it's 10
14. Oh, it's
episodes.
10.
It's 10.
Okay, they only have up to November 13th on the wiki, but maybe they didn't put them all on the wiki yet. I don't know. That is low, right? It's like if they have 9 checkpoints, 14 days. In this one, we're gonna watch 2 days.
Hmm.
I guess if each episode is 2 days, that would get to 14 days. If it was 7 episodes, but you're saying it's 10, so maybe not.
Well, on Wikipedia, it's got a chart for 10. I don't know. Maybe it's not right. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, they only get to 1 of 9 checkpoints, but we get 2 out of the 14 days in the first episode.
Hmm.
Okay, so they have to make a baby camp. We kind of already talked about this, but they get the whole scene where they have to sleep at the baby camps. People get up. They're talking about how much that sucked sleep in the bivy camp. So we're getting that, hey, this is the bivy camp. This is not what we want to be doing. We want to get to the checkpoints.
Yeah.
We get to sleep in the fancy tents. North Face is a big sponsor on this show. They're on all the North Face is on all the equipment
Yeah.
they're using. A big logo on the tents when they get to the checkpoints. We want to get to the North Face fancy dome tents and
Yeah.
have a good night's sleep. I think the biggest part is probably just getting to eat like not freeze dried food. It's probably the
Yeah.
the
Hmm.
best. I can't imagine the sleeping is that much better.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know.
I mean, I would like to not be in a weird fabric coffin if I was sleeping. So,
But even at the first checkpoint, it was like was it 2 tents or 3 tents? I'm sure they had to pack in to those things.
Oh,
I don't think
yeah.
there was like a ton of room because they still had 15 people. All right. So we didn't make it. We woke up. We're going on to day 2.
Hmm.
Shweta has the map now.
Yes.
All right. The big reason that Manu gives that they have to kind of stop and camp here is like it's getting dark, but also they're gonna have to cross this ravine soon, and
It'll be too dangerous in the dark.
They
Yeah.
won't be able to do that in the dark. So that's immediately on the second day we reach the first obstacle, which I imagine there is probably an obstacle in between each checkpoint.
Seems very
That's how
reasonable.
it kind of gone in the 2 episodes I watched. What's the first obstacle? A deep gorge blocks your path to the summit.
Yeah, you just got to get across it. It's so easy. There's a bridge is a rope bridge, but then suddenly the planks aren't there partway through, and it's just like the two ropes, and then above there are also ropes, and they're like, yeah, just get across it. And then they describe the way they're gonna have to do this, and I was like, this can't be a thing you're gonna make people do. What? You have to go across in a pair, and you have your feet on one rope, they are standing on the other rope facing you, and you like hold on to each other and lean into each other to keep your balance, and then you like side shuffle to the other end of this fucking rope bridge that has no planks on it, and it is the most absurd thing I have ever seen.
Well, when you described it, there's nothing to hold on to. There's just the two ropes that are parallel to each other. There's no ropes above to hold on to.
There are like ropes above that they get like they have a harness and they're attached to it that way.
There's safety lines. So
yeah.
they don't actually fall to their deaths, but there's nothing for them to. There's in the second episode, it's basically another rope bridge. Except this rope bridge has like planks that are missing that you have to like fix or like add other ones. Except in that one, you're crossing it by yourself, so they have ropes for you to hold on to.
Oh, at like
above, but this one is like
level.
ropes only for your feet, and you have to lean on somebody else to like keep your balance.
Yeah,
yeah. You don't think
crazy.
You can do this, Sarah? Come on.
No.
Yeah, but if you did it though, you'd feel so fucking pumped afterwards. Come on.
I would be so mad that anyone made me do this. Honestly.
Okay. No. I don't think. I mean, you could just be like,
I have no balance. I would fall over. Well, I mean, yeah, I would. The first day I show up for this show and they're like, climb the fucking mountain, I'd be like, go fuck yourselves. Goodbye.
Okay. You wouldn't even want to be like, oh, let's see how far I can make it.
No. No.
Okay.
I'd be like, I'll just sit here and enjoy the view until a helicopter comes to take me home. We good.
All right. So the dilemma, this is kind of just an obstacle at first, but there's a dilemma that everybody kind of realizes, which is that they have an odd amount of people since Tony is gone.
Yes.
And what's the deal here? They actually have to elect a new leader for this obstacle, and then that leader basically gets to choose their partner, and then their partner to go across first, and then every pairing and the order of the pairings to go later.
Now, I don't know that when they read the instructions, what I took that as, you pick a leader, they pick their partner, they go across, and then the leader picks the next person who will pick their partner and go across, which is what I thought was going to happen.
Oh.
And I think that's what a lot of people thought was happened. Well, what happened is the leader did choose everything, but people had started pairing off as the first pair goes across, but then she just picked everybody and their pair. Like, and I also thought like the second pair would then pick the next pair instead of just the leader is picking everyone start to finish.
Too more spicy. Just let one person decide.
It got real spicy.
I thought when they were discussing the pairs, it was kind of I don't know how long this took is the hardest thing to tell from watching it.
Because you really think nobody fell more than once? Like if you fall, you start over and have to go across again. And like,
I don't know.
We get a couple people who have fallen off once, and then the second time they get it through, and I'm like, it feels like somebody fell a second time. It's gotta have happened.
If somebody struggled and was falling multiple times, I think it would have been worth like montaging how many times they fell, because it's kind of important to like the perceptive of their perception of how good they are or their chances of not being able to make it or like failing an obstacle in the future. So I don't know. I think they probably did it. It's probably one of those things that looks like insane, and then you can probably do it if you just kind of
okay.
You know, you might fall once, or you might fall, but it's probably something you can figure out how to do it, because everybody's going to do it.
It just seems super convenient to me that we only ever see people fall once, and then a whole lot of people don't fall at all. And I feel like maybe they just cut out a bunch of falls because it was too many falls.
Okay, I think it was about what it was. I think how many falls happened, that seemed about right to me. But in terms of how long were they discussing all these possibilities of what to do?
Okay.
So, to me, it felt like, okay, well, a big discussion is who's going to be the leader. That's kind of essential to this episode, because Theron was the leader. I forget what his status was on this, but Amy's gonna throw out Bo. Like, oh, Bo should be the leader. He's like,
No, it was Rose who
sorry,
threw
Rose.
that
I meant
out.
to say Rose. Yeah, Rose throws it out.
Yeah.
That's important. Yeah,
I
Rose
think
throws
because
out Bo
she
should be the
sees a
leader.
lot of him being in the back, and a lot of people, like, she was the person at the forefront of the hey, fast people, wait up fight, right? And so it seems like she's trying to take care of Bo because she is worried that he's going to be like left behind or like voted out or what, whatever happens, she feels a need to protect him, I think. So she's trying to demonstrate his value here by being like, he's a basketball coach. Let him lead us to victory or whatever.
Yeah. Rose's obsession with Bo and this is a little weird to me. Like I don't know if it's a like a recognition of like it's the slow people versus the fast people and I'm in the slow people, so I need to like keep my slow people here. Or if it's really this just like, oh, like he seems like a dad to me or whatever the I don't know.
Yeah.
She somehow like really I don't know, she defended Bo to like kind of an insane level. Like it's like at some point you just have to be like, yeah, this guy's not gonna make it. Like, what was she planning on doing? Did she really think Bo was gonna make it to the summit at the end of this thing? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're like Dusty's literally carrying his bag. There are probably a bunch of people maybe potentially carrying his bag to get him through this. I don't know. Rose is a little insane to me on this, but
or maybe it's a strategy of like he is slower than me. If I keep him around, that's a buffer.
Yeah.
If I could get them picking off other like fighting amongst themselves instead, then
that I
but
get.
She doesn't. She never expresses that.
That's
so
not the story we get. Yeah. Yeah. What is Amy? Let's see. Oh, sorry. No, what's Rose? Rose is a stay-at-home mom, 41.
But we do find out that she used to be in the military and was a Black Hawk helicopter pilot. But she is not telling people about her military experience because she's being strategic or whatever.
Yeah. Also, Rose, like, I cannot believe we got somebody that came on the show and was like, "I'm not going to tell people what I used to do for a living because that'll make me seem like super threatening." It's like, if anything, it would make people be like, "Oh, you know what you're doing out here. Like, you have military experience.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll be helpful." Like, she just didn't want people to know that she was in the she said she was a military wife instead of being like, "Yeah, I was in that shit and I was a Black Hawk helicopter pilot." But then this was interesting. In her own like backstory, when she's like voicing over top of it, she says, "I used to be a badass."
Yeah, at some point she left the military and became she became a stay-at-home mom. This is the thing that happens to women is they end up taking care of children and putting their own dreams and whatever on hold.
You can't say I am a badass.
Well, she doesn't feel like she's as badass as she was when she was flying fucking helicopters.
It's just a little glimpse into how she perceives herself. She's like, I used to be a badass. Now I'm just kind of whatever.
Well, I mean, some of that is her own internal things, and some of that is society not valuing moms.
It's her word. She didn't have to say that.
Yeah, but it all gets internalized or whatever. It
wasn't like she told people what she did for a living, and they're like, "Damn, you used to be a badass." It's like a normal person.
Oh,
like,
I'm sure somebody said that to her.
Damn, you are a badass. Yeah, I cannot believe we got a person that was like, "I need to hide what I do for a living" on this show. It's actually insane. Yeah, but what she's offering here is like, oh yeah, Bo is a coach. Like, let's him be a leader. And
people seem to really like his personality or something. Like, the amount of people who say they love Bo in this episode is ridiculous. Yeah. You've known him for not even 48 hours yet.
Yeah. And Theron like adamantly says like he doesn't want Bo to be the leader. I'm not sure
and then Rose like pushes it. I think because he's just mad at the slow people.
Is that what it is? Is that what it is?
And he doesn't want to like make the slow person the person in charge of getting across first or whatever, I guess.
Yeah.
But then Rose pushes it. Yeah.
Why don't you want Bo to be the leader? And then we don't see a response from there. And then Becky says something about she's going to be good at this or something. I don't even know what Becky
or somebody offers her up or I forget exactly.
She says something and then somebody's like, oh, maybe Becky should be the leader then. And then enough people are like, oh yeah, that's fine with me. So then Becky's just the leader somehow.
Yeah.
I think she said she would be good at it. I forget what it was.
Oh, at going across the
And then somehow Becky ends up choosing Rose to go with her, which is also kind of I think at first the conversation this is my best guess as to what happened. At first the conversations were like, okay, we should do people that are like similar in weight.
Yeah, similar like
So
body types to like balance
yeah.
each other out on this
And then
thing. Yeah.
everybody loosely, I think, was like coming up with pairs, but it wasn't like they all were sitting down before Becky and Rose went and were like, all right, these two people, these two people, these two people. It was like people were loosely deciding amongst themselves, like, all right, I should go
Right.
with you. But it wasn't like
Mm-hmm.
Becky heard everything. And because also it's like, all right, they decided Rose was the best match for Becky from a body type perspective or whatever. And it's like, all right, get going, get across, like start doing it. And everybody else is just sitting there like talking about what pairs they should do.
Uh-huh.
So when Becky and Rose finally get across, Becky is like, all right, I want to do for some reason they talk about it. Like if you were Becky here, would you even like give Rose a say? Like I would have just been like, I would have
No.
yelled across like, all right, these two people next. But for whatever reason, Becky is like talking to Rose like it's some sort of big decision as to who's gonna go second on this.
And then Rose is pushing really hard for like Bo and Amy because she's trying to keep her flow people in it or whatever. And
It is a glimpse into like what people are thinking socially and strategically. So like Becky says to Rose like, "Oh, I kind of want Pumpkin and Jenny to go next. Like I feel good about them." But then Rose is immediately like, "Oh, I really want it to be Bo and Patty or something."
Amy.
Bo and Amy, yeah, which are two slow people. So you can kind of, yeah, there's a chance Becky's doing maybe some sort of women's alliance thing. I'm not sure with Pumpkin and Jenny. Pumpkin and Jenny are kind of under-edited a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So far, yeah.
so far. But they're in that kind of like middle group with Becky.
And I think Becky says like she's like, "Oh, well, I kind of like told them I would pick them next or whatever." Like,
Yeah, it's also like Becky, it's just your choice, just do it. So, but
yeah.
I'm not sure how long this took, but like they're showing it like the people on the other side are like standing there waiting for Becky to tell them who's next, and like they're wasting time because Becky and Rose are like talking to each other.
Yeah.
Somehow this does not have any blowback on Becky, at least not immediately, but it becomes a thing where they're like, oh, Rose is trying to manipulate Becky and tell her what to do.
Yeah.
But ultimately Becky chooses Pumpkin and Jenny, which I don't know if that messed up any. I feel like that was a pairing that maybe Becky knew about. But then when it gets like the third one, she says Jeff and Dusty, and Jeff and Dusty had already just had like different partners that they had chose.
Yeah.
So at that point it like messes everything up from the perspective of the people that were waiting to go.
Right.
But it goes Jeff, Dusty, then Amy and Patty, and then Dennis and Theron, and Shweta and Jeannie, and then Nick and Robert, which leaves Bo last.
Yes.
And he's been the slowest. So they don't know for sure what's going to happen to
what's
Bo.
What's going to happen. A lot of people assume he's going to be like just out of the game then.
Yeah. Becky and others are feeling the weight of the decision to make Bo the last person because they think he might just be eliminated.
But then the Mountain Keeper comes out of nowhere and drops a bag. And it's like they have to choose as a group if they want to use the gear provided to like get him across or just leave him there. And they do emphasize like leave him and his money there.
Even before the bag drops though, Rose is like pushing before they even picked Nick and Robert as the last two to come across. Like Rose is still pushing really hard to like we can't leave Bo behind. His persistence is motivating. That was her logic. I mean like I get you, like, you feel this kinship to this guy or whatever, but it's so just unrealistic. And, like, to think that she thinks she has, like, so much influence or power or say in a situation, in this type of situation, that she can
push this
hard for something that is, like, it sucks. It sucks that potentially we have to lose Bo here. You know, that's just... But that's kind of just the show, and he's like clearly the best choice to do.
Yeah,
and it's like, yeah, I don't know. She just really doesn't give into it, which is important for this episode 1.
Yeah, it just seems like she lacks the self-awareness of this is gonna make her a target.
Yeah, it could be a military experience too thing where she's just like, I don't know if she was
nobody left behind or whatever.
Where she's used to being able to like make the last say on things. I'm not sure, but yeah, the Mountains Keeper drops a bag and they open it and they have a dilemma. Did you say what the dilemma was?
Yes. They can leave him here and get moving, to get some time back or whatever.
This
or
is a
they can,
really easy call, right, Sarah?
yeah, you get him and his money across so that way you get his money. And then you drop him at the next time you get a chance to.
Yeah, see, at this point in the show, I'm gonna say this from the perspective of they don't know what's gonna happen at the checkpoints.
Okay.
From the perspective of they don't know what's gonna happen at the checkpoints, boom, easy decision, leave Bo behind. I'm gonna be honest.
Well, just the way that the show keeps emphasizing you're gonna also leave his money behind feels like, okay, like we'll have a chance to get rid of him later, but not his money.
Yeah, I get that. At the same time, this would be my immediate thought is easy choice. It sucks, but we'll leave Bo behind. We gotta keep moving. It's gonna waste time. If all this stuff actually matters, we're saving time. Yeah. Bo's not gonna make it anyway. What's the big deal? At the same time, I would be thinking, no chance in hell that I'm gonna be the one that says this.
Oh no.
So
but Theron definitely is like, I will be the one who says this. Let's go.
Yeah, so Theron says it. And then the way they vote for things in general in the show is just like everybody's just like, all right, show of hands, who wants to vote this? And so when they had the vote that was like, all right, who wants to save Bo? And people are raising their hands, I also would have raised my hand. So I would have voted to save Bo, not even knowing how the checkpoints worked. But in my head, I would be like, yeah. I would never say it, but I'd be like, yeah, we're leaving Bo behind, right? Like, no way. No way.
Yeah.
Like, do we need to save him? But, but socially, I would not do it. I would be like,
right,
if you want to save Bo, whatever, we'll go slow. He'll be gone eventually, and I can just be faster later. And just trust that I'll make it somehow. But what you're saying, in reality, once you know how checkpoints works, you really just want to drag people to checkpoints and then vote them out
and then get rid of them there. Yeah, absolutely.
From a standpoint of like somebody that thinks they can make it to the summit and they're trying to maximize how much money they get.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. Some people might be like, okay, now that I know what this is, I know I'm not making it to the end, so I do want to just have this social time of like, yeah, let's get everybody, like maybe that's where Rose's head is at, that she's not going to make it to the end. And she wants to help this guy live his dream as far as they can go, I don't know.
Oh, like maybe she does. Maybe she doesn't even feel like she can make it.
Yeah.
I guess if that's
hard
the
to
case,
say.
That's the case. I don't,
I don't think that's what it is, but I could see where that could be a motivating factor also to be like, get everybody as far as they can go. Cause we're in this adventure together.
Yeah. But the thing is like, I mean, that sounds very reasonable, what you just said. But the thing is, the situations where she's fighting for Bo is like, we should leave Dusty, or we should leave.
Oh yeah,
we should leave Robert behind, who's not slowing down the group at all.
Mm-hmm.
And we should save Bo. Like it's really just like an unreasonable request.
Yeah,
honestly,
it does feel more like a slow people alliance situation.
Yeah. All right, but they save Bo.
Yes.
And they have to do this a weird way where like Dusty and Jeff had to like go back across to set up another rope so that Bo could go across by himself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It took a lot of time. It felt like this took a long time. Maybe it didn't really.
It feels like if we just had this extra rope from the beginning, everybody would have gotten across faster and it would have been a better experience all around.
Oh,
but,
well, yeah.
Sure.
This whole bridge is not like, these bridges are not a real part of the the mountain climbing experience. I don't think these are production rope bridges.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go. We get through the first obstacle, and I feel like this must eat up a lot of the day, because then it's just like, oh, we're just gonna get to the first checkpoint.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, like, okay, do they get to the first checkpoint? Do they have to sleep there? I don't know. It feels kind of like the production kind of knows how this is gonna go, at least.
Right.
Yeah. So they get the first checkpoint, and they're just gonna. I don't know how long it took them to get there, but that they're gonna sleep there, and they get to replenish. But then Manu comes out of nowhere again. He just shows up.
Yep.
And he like finally breaks the news of how what they actually have to do with the checkpoints. And they kind of seem surprised, or at least Jeff was like, he had a line that was like, "Oh, so we're gonna have to do this at every checkpoint." So I don't know if he was just coming to that realization because he just found out about what they have to do at checkpoints, or he knew they had to do that, but he didn't realize how many times they had to do that. I'm not sure how much.
Yeah. I'm also not sure if everybody's completely aware of how many checkpoints there are, or if they're still assuming that they're meant to get to a checkpoint every day.
I feel like they do because I feel like it's on the map.
I feel like it's on the map, but not everybody's up close with the map. There's 15 people out here. I don't think they're all looking at the map.
What's funny in episode 2, Shweta Shweta's like going around trying to get somebody else to take the map. The map, following who has the map is actually kind of funny. At least the first 2 episodes. Nobody wants it.
Yeah, it's too much weird responsibility.
Nobody wants the map, but I feel like they're not showing anybody really getting any real backlash for being the map reader. But somehow the map readers are feeling the pressure, or maybe they just do it. Maybe they just do it for a day and then they're like mentally spent and they just don't want to do it again.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. All right. So yeah, Manu's telling them. He's also telling them. He tells them that they have to vote somebody out, but they get to keep the money. And then he also reiterates that they're going too slow.
Yeah.
You're not going to make it.
He's probably going to say that every single time he sees them, whether it's true or not.
Maybe. He might be like, oh, you guys made up good ground today, but there's still a long way to go. Or something like that. Yeah,
yeah, there's always going to be pressure.
Now, Manu's going to say that everyone must vote. Okay.
But the way they vote is crazy.
Yeah. It's very non-official. Like, well, it counts, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, they basically... It's like what we saw before when they were deciding if they should say Bo. It's just like, who wants to vote for this person? And then people raise their hands. It's really actually unfair. I complain about this on the challenge a lot, where they kind of have these kind of makeshift ways of voting, and it's like it messes things up in these scenarios where you're like, I'll talk about it when we get to the actual who voted for who, but it's like somebody decides to throw out somebody's names first, and then everybody's like, oh, who's voting for this person? After like a certain amount of hands go up, a lot of more hands are going to go up, right?
Yeah.
You're just like, I just want to vote with majority, you know?
Yeah.
So if you get your name thrown out early in these
you're kind of boned.
It's not like they go person to person and you know everybody's gonna have to go and you're waiting for your person to raise your hand. It's like, I don't know, names are
some people are voting for this person, might as well. Yeah,
loose, fast and loose with these votings, the voting mechanics. Now would this show be more interesting if it was like anonymous voting where you didn't know who was voting for who and you had to vote without seeing how everybody else was voting? Like if it was Survivor, like, do you think it would be more interesting, or is this show better as like let these people figure out their own way of voting? I don't know.
Well, the secret voting is always going to make it more interesting from a like alliance perspective or whatever, or people backstabbing each other. I don't know that this show is gonna get that deep. Like, I don't think it would necessarily. They don't have time for that. They're hiking up a mountain and they're exhausted. But it is fundamentally unfair to vote in this way. I think you talk and everybody throws out some nominations and then everybody knows who's theoretically up for voting and then you vote is a much better way to do it. Blind voting also would be an improvement because, like, I'm fine with people knowing who people voted for after the fact, but like during the voting time, you're like, oh, well, I'll just vote for this person because most people are voting for them. So it's not me or whatever, Yeah.
I mean, it's still fair in a way that like everybody has an opportunity to be charismatic enough to like control the voting ceremony.
Yeah.
And tilt it in their way. Like everybody has a chance to be
like,
all right, who wants to vote for this? So, but
truly, if you are like Bo, like, what are you gonna say in this? Like, people are gonna vote for you and be like, well, yeah, I'm slow, but don't vote for me real quick. Vote for this other. I don't know. It's kind of an awkward. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's not much time in there to sneak in your no, but really, don't vote for me.
It's kind of like tribal. It's similar to Tribal Council Survivor, but with like out a mediator. In general.
Yeah.
Like Manu's not sitting with them and being like asking them questions. He's just there to kind of tell them the rules.
He has better things to do.
And then they're just not voting secretly on top of that. I don't know. I think I would like it more if it was everybody votes in secret and it's like, oh, 6 people voted this person out. How did that happen? And then like they have to put together like, oh, all the slow people are voting together. That must be what it is.
Yeah.
Like how did Dusty get voted out? He's the strongest one here. Yeah.
I think that's always going to be fundamentally more interesting. I just don't think these people are going to have the brain space to
also,
deal with it.
I don't think it's the social game. I don't think is the focus of the show.
Yeah.
In a way that they don't aren't spending like production time on it.
Right.
Like, they're making them stay at the camp, but they're just filming what they can before they have to go to sleep, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because like Tribal Council and Survivor takes hours
Hours,
to
yeah.
film, like for Jeff to talk to them and then do the whole process of voting.
Take all the time of voting, yeah.
Yeah. But Tribal Council is like, the last 10 minutes of every episode of Survivor. So it's like they need to get as much as they can to fill that time. Yeah.
And it's like truly the point of Survivor. Like,
yeah.
Everything comes down to
but
that.
The format, the reason the show is so good and has lasted so long, because the format of the show is so good. Like,
yeah,
what makes Survivor so good is its format, which makes me want to like use their voting system in like every show I watch, because I know how good it is when you do it this way. But I get that from a production standpoint, it's not always like the top priority to prioritize the fairness of a vote necessarily. Yeah,
right.
If you want to put it that way, yeah. All right, strategically though, Sarah,
they made the wrong decision. I'm mad. It's annoying. They did a bad job.
Really?
They did a bad job.
Okay,
they
100%
did a fucking bad job at this game.
Okay, well, some people did bad and some people did good.
Okay.
So before we get to who, obviously the vote out the slowest person is like the most basic thing you could think. But if you are a slow person, you have to come up with something different.
But you have to look at that slow person and figure out if they're going to drop out in the next leg of the hike. Because you have to figure out if anybody's close to that point, because then you're going to lose the money if you don't vote them out right now. Yeah.
Honestly, if I was a slow person, though, I'd be like, if I somehow get to the summit, I'll take whatever money I can get. Like, I just got to get there. I would not worry. I would not be trying to min-max. Like, let's make sure nobody has to quit in the middle of a leg, because we don't want to lose that money. I don't know if I would be like super emphasizing that when I know like my ass is on the line every time we let somebody out.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you're a slow person. But like the people who swing the vote in away from Bo, away from the slowest person, are not in the slow group. It is Shweta, right?
I think it made
and Dennis, right? Yeah. And like what we've seen so far from like what the game is, there aren't any like challenges that you have to beat people at. So like, I don't know, that takes that kind of aspect out of like, I have to vote this person who is like, well, every leg is
a challenge where you're proving that you're not the slowest. Right?
Yeah, okay, there is that. So maybe there's some logic to keeping a slow buffer behind you, but
yeah, for sure.
I don't know that you need to hyper target like high performers with what we've seen so far. Like you want because you gotta assume that like people are gonna drop out along the way. Like, and I don't know. I'm trying to optimize for money, I guess, even though like I'm not in this is not. I'm like you're please vote me out. Right.
Like, you're viewing the show from the perspective of like you are Dusty or something.
Yeah, like if I'm him, I'm gonna make it, and I'm trying to optimize my path to money. It's always vote out the person who you think is gonna drop out next.
Yeah, you're right about that. But I think for a lot of people, let's go through the votes. Because the thing is, this is just like
other
Survivor.
Thing that bothers me.
If you don't have enough friends, you're gonna get voted out at some point. Like they're gonna have 9 vote outs at some point on this show.
Yeah.
So you have to have people that are working with you. So if Bo is never gonna vote you out, right? Why am I getting rid of him? If I can just get him, to the next checkpoint, he's gonna help me survive the next checkpoint. If he goes out, he goes out. But if you're Dusty, I will make the devil's advocate. If you're Dusty, the only way I'm losing the show is if I get voted out. I'm making it to the top, right?
Yeah.
So the only thing I should be concerning myself with is surviving each and every checkpoint.
That's fair.
So
I think the reason I'm amped up about this is so in the Wikipedia page that I was looking through to find information on if I could figure out if this was the same mountain or whatever, it does tell me the list of people that have left the show so far, right? Accidentally saw that. So I do know.
Don't spoil it.
That. Wait,
don't spoil it for me.
Okay.
I haven't watched it yet.
Wait, now it looks.
Don't
I
look
thought
at
it
it.
said something different. I thought Bo dropped out next time. I don't think that's right now that I'm re-looking at the thing. So I
Bo's
was
not
like,
making it. Bo's not making it on this thing. But
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
know
but
when, but he's not making it.
I thought I read it as he dropped out and they lost that money, right? So I was like, see right there, you made a stupid decision. But also, like, the vote shifts to Rose, and it feels like it is a lot of just like, this woman's talking too much. You know, like, here's a woman who is expressing an opinion and we don't like it. Now, I know that she went hard on her whole let's save Bo situation and it rubbed people the wrong way, but it did feel kind of gendered to me and I didn't like it. So that's why I got a little amped up about it.
That happens a lot when we watch these shows, Sarah, with you.
Yeah, I mean, you are angry all the time. I'm also kind of angry all the time,
well,
you know?
let's go through all the votes.
Okay.
And I will make the case that nearly everybody, or most of the people that voted for Rose, I think, did the right thing.
Okay.
Between the choice of Rose and Bo. Now, I mean, anybody could have got voted out, right? So there's a lot of potentially better options than Bo and Rose for a lot of people. But if that was the two choices. So this is how the voting goes that we see it. I don't even know. I did not write down who was leading the conversation here. I forget who it was. But somebody says, all right, who wants to vote for Bo? And then Amy.
I think it was Dennis who was leading it. Anyway.
Okay. Continue. Amy and Jeff vote for Bo. Only two people. At this point, you know something's up. Although,
Amy's in tears the whole time.
This is a fast and loose voting process. Who knows if people might be like, all right, I'm voting for Bo. Like, they could, like, chime in later and decide that they're voting for Bo. But we get 2 votes for Bo. Amy's kind of a surprising one, a little bit, but we can talk about that later.
Because, like, in the talking through when they sat down, she was kind of like...
She's choosing between Rose and Bo, so it's a really tough choice for Amy.
Yeah, it's true. But she also didn't tell Rose that that's what was going to happen. So, kind of, like, literally there are a lot of, like, the mom squad or whatever who were hanging out in the back that could have told her that people were bringing her up, and it seems like nobody told her that at all.
Yeah. So... Then somebody says, maybe it's Dennis again. Somebody says, all right, who's voting for Rose? Nobody goes right away except for Jenny. Jenny raises her hand and says she's voting for Rose. Rose immediately raises her hand and says, all right, I'm voting for you, Jenny. Right back at you, because she doesn't want to vote for Bo. But right. I don't think anybody's given her a name, so she just decides to vote against the first person that votes for her. Then we see 8 more people raise their hand and vote for Rose.
Yes.
I never saw who Bo voted for, or Becky or Robert. I never saw them raise their hand for anybody.
Yeah.
But theoretically, everybody has to vote. I don't know. Maybe it's just something Manu said, but really it's fast and loose, and it's just kind of like a group decision on how they want to do this. And once they got to 9, it was majority, so they didn't have to continue.
Yeah, they didn't have to worry about it.
But let's go through the names. So Jenny is a fast team person, right?
Yes.
Dennis is a fast team person. Theron is a fast team person.
Yes.
Shweta is a fast team person. And then the other ones are Pumpkin, Dusty, Nick, Patty, and Jenny. Patty and Jeannie. Now, theoretically, Patty and Jeannie are slow team persons.
Yeah.
But I know from watching the beginning of the next episode, Jeannie definitely just wanted to vote with the majority, but she's feeling bad for voting out Rose.
Yeah.
But all these fast team people, like, if you are on this team fast or whatever, and you're listening to what Rose has been saying throughout the day, the last 2 days, like, her arguments to keep Bo just make no sense whatsoever from a logical perspective, which means she's clearly, like, it's so obvious at, like, well, we never even get Rose saying this, but it heavily feels like she is trying to keep the slow people in the game.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to keep the slow people in the game, that's a threat to the fast people. So all the fast people are much more incentivized to vote out Rose than they are Bo.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah. And then for somebody like Dusty, Dusty's been helping out Bo, carrying his bag for him for the last day. Plus, he's been helping him out for 2 days. Like, Bo is never gonna vote out Dusty in this game.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So Dusty, that's another one. Like, it's amazing that Bo stays for Dusty's game. I don't know much about Pumpkin and Nick. Patty and Jeannie seem like they were team slow, but socially I don't really know where they stand. But you can see how for a lot of people it was like, why are we voting out Bo? Plus, like Rose was like visibly frustrated with a lot of the fast people in a way that
That is
like
true.
just she probably just like didn't like them, like from like a social perspective, right? So they
Right.
know
Yeah.
Rose is not going to blink twice to vote for them at any checkpoint in the future. So I think, I mean,
All
you might
right. You're right.
doesn't maximize the
I
money on the
get it.
show. You're absolutely right. It doesn't maximize the money on the show, but it's what I would do.
Okay.
I would do it if I was a you know a fast person that wasn't helping people, and I would do it if I was a fast person that was helping Bo, and and I felt like he was essentially in alliance with me.
All right. All right.
So yeah, I think it's a big win for the team fast for sure. Also, they didn't really mention it here, but at the beginning, I forget who says it, but there is this kind of sense that the mom squad is like a thing that people were
Oh
worried
yeah.
about.
Yeah.
So Amy is going to be upset with Jeannie that Jeannie voted to get rid of Rose.
I think she's also upset with Patty too.
Oh, is she? Okay.
Oh wait, Rose is upset with what?
No, Amy is upset with
Amy's upset.
Jeannie in the second episode
Okay.
for voting out Rose. Like that's like Amy says to everybody, like, I only like she goes to Bo and said, like, Bo, I only voted for you because I couldn't vote for Rose.
Mm.
Because they're like the mom squad, essentially
Yeah,
admitting
yeah.
that they had a thing. They had something that
They had a
that bound them
friendly
together.
connection. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fine line
AKA
between
an alliance. Yeah. Yeah.
there's a fine line between a friendly connection and an alliance. Yeah, it's just
Exactly.
whether or not you want to label it. But Amy has hurt the most by Jeannie going along with the majority. That's like a thing at the beginning of the next episode, basically. So
Yeah, I think like
the mom squad was a thing.
Yeah, I think like Amy gives Rose like a big hug, and then like in her like voiceover, you hear like her like, oh, I don't want a hug from those like people who betrayed me, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
like Patty and Jeannie. Yeah.
Also, Rose felt the need to like whisper in somebody's ear, like, "I'm from the military. I used
fly
to
helicopters."
I can fly a helicopter."
Yeah, that's to Amy. I don't know, maybe something they bonded over being like, oh, we're just stay-at-home moms, we don't do cool things or whatever, or she was just also it was killing her inside that
I
everybody
don't
didn't
know.
know the whole time.
Again, I don't understand this like I'm gonna hide who I really am, and then I need it, and then I think it's gonna be this epic TV moment when I reveal the secret that I've been keeping this whole time. Like so many people go into a show with this, like they think they're doing something dramatic.
It's a big move, yeah.
So, I don't get it, but yeah, I wasn't vibing with Rose. Yeah, I mean, I would have been down to vote out Bo too. Actually, no, I wouldn't. Like, if I'm Dusty, if we're gonna say like, okay, pretend you're Dusty on the show, which we kind of both have at least thought about it a little bit. I think it's a big win for Dusty.
Yeah, that's fair. And thinking about it more, like Rose's situation reminds me a lot of the one guy in the Devil's Plan who was like, I'm not gonna let any of the dummies leave, and then was just like, no, now I have a weird dummy alliance. And it was just like,
yeah,
you remember what I mean? Like, it's just like, oh, well, now I've got a bunch of people who aren't good at this game.
Okay, they weren't dummies, oops. But they weren't the real movers and shakers when it came to the
he was trying to keep everybody in on like some principle, which really just made he kicked better people at the game out. And yeah.
It's like we guys, we can't get rid of Bo. He's just like, he's so inspirational with his perseverance, and it's like, okay, who we getting rid of? Rose.
Yeah.
I think Robert really confronts her on this. He's like look, like, I understand you're with, like, you like Bo or whatever, but like, you're proposing that we get rid of somebody that can carry their own bag and not slow us down versus somebody who
and yet they did get rid of somebody who could carry her own bag.
They did. So, I do wonder. Well, I wonder. I assume Dusty. We see Dusty was carrying Bo's bag. I do wonder, like, how much slower Bo was than the other slow people. Like, even Rose. Like, was it that much of a gap between Rose and Bo? Like, if Rose,
I think there's also probably just like a visual component of he has a lot of gray hair. Like, people haven't gone around sharing their ages. Probably they probably think he's older than he is because he looks older than he is. You know?
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying if you're actually out there,
Mm-hmm.
it like is everybody on Team Slow about the same slowness?
Probably because they're all like hanging together. Yeah,
Maybe, yeah.
supporting each other.
Like
or whatever.
let's say for whatever reason Dusty started pushing like really hard. Like say Dusty did everything that Rose did in this episode. It
Mm-hmm.
was like, I think he should be the captain for these reasons, and we shouldn't get rid of him over these other people that are going fast.
I think people would have listened more because he's a dude. Honestly,
I think Bo would have just gone home because I don't think they're getting rid of Dusty. Is what I'm saying.
okay.
I don't think they're going to
That's
listen to him. It's just that they won't flip it around and get rid of him because he's like the most physically fit guy there. But I don't think he would win the argument because it's such a bad argument. But Rose, they were like, wow, she's being really unreasonable, and I know she doesn't like me, and she's not that much faster than Bo anyway. So let's just get rid of her. But it would have been a
okay.
tougher choice if she was like the most physically fit person there and she was doing this. But
Yeah.
pretty interesting.
Okay.
I went to this show with probably medium expectation levels, and it definitely was higher than I expected. Actually, watching it, it was better than I.
Are you going to keep watching
Oh,
it?
yeah,
Is
I'm
the
finishing
social
this.
aspect enough for you?
Oh no, this
Okay.
is great. I love this show. I also just love.
Okay.
I think the epicness that they are able to portray in the mountain climbing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, it for me personally, it's like, oh yeah, like it makes me want to go out there and do it. Like that's how I think it's portrayed in a very exciting way.
All right. Cool.
So yeah, I'm watching this whole thing.
Nice.
Did they get
I'm probably
you?
not watching the rest of it.
You're
No,
probably
no,
not.
no.
All right. Well, you already spoiled
But-
yourself to some degree, but
Yeah, whatever. I will immediately forget all the names that I read for the rest of it anyway, so it doesn't matter. But it
Okay.
did get me back on my subscription for what is this? The CBS services Peacock? Is that right? No, Paramount.
Paramount Plus, so where you can watch this.
Yeah. So I did find out that currently a new season of the US version of Ghost is airing, so I caught up on that. So you know,
Yeah, I have not watched that at
I'll
all.
finish watching that.
There you go. Nice. Yeah, I've not watched that.
It
I should
remains
watch that.
good. So yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about shows. I just recently caught up with Abbott Elementary.
Oh,
That's
that
also
yeah,
a show.
I've
We've
been watching
talked-
that. I love that show. Yeah.
We've done an episode on Abbott Elementary way back when.
Yes, it's very good. Do recommend.
Yeah, the other show is not dead yet, but I believe they.
I think
there's-
that's done. I think
Is
it's
it
canceled.
done? I think it's canceled. I didn't see any new episodes. It's usually
Yeah.
it had been on the same night as Abbott,
Right.
with the fall releases, and I don't see any new episodes, so I thought it's either canceled or yeah. I like that show too, though, so that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I enjoyed that as well.
All right, 14 people remain
Yep.
on the summit.
How many do you think are gonna like? What do you envision the end game of this to be?
Okay,
like?
so in episode 2, let's just
Uh-huh.
in episode 2, this is the trailer that I saw that I described when I was pitching the show in the last podcast. It's like, so now that I know the characters, the preview gives away who's it going to be. So basically, Jeff is going he's going to be the guy that gets this thing that I saw in the preview, and basically they get to another rope bridge, and this time they have to cross it one by one, I believe. And they get told, like, pick your strongest, most trustworthy person to go first because they're going to have to make a big decision. And Jeff is the one that gets chosen for this. And he's basically going to have to, I think he gets to decide. I didn't actually get to the point where I get the details of this. I think he gets, like, decide the order of how they cross the bridge. And then he has he has a hatchet and he has to cut down the bridge once there's only one person left.
So he has to get rid of exactly one person.
And they lose the money, I believe.
Oh, yeah, that's
so you're actually just going to lose money at some point. Maybe they'll have the thing later where you can get some of the money back. I'm not sure. But even after losing Tony before the first checkpoint and taking 2 days to get to the second checkpoint, the show is not worried about just forcing somebody else to be eliminated in the middle of the second leg. Okay. So it feels kind of
well. Also, that sounds like
a little bit.
Like getting across this bridge. Is it hard at all? Like it's just a normal bridge?
It's hard. You have to do it by yourself. No, it's the same exact setup, except it has 2 ropes on top for you to hold on to. But then they have the planks. Since it's only you, they're slack enough that I think you need the planks to get across, or at least that's what they make it seem like. And they have
Okay.
some planks that you have to like carry with you and like refill them in, and other planks are like
Mm.
hanging, so you have to like bend over or like use your foot to like get them back into place.
I just wonder if
Um,
they thought that this challenge didn't have enough like pizzazz to it without leaving someone behind, and maybe a
it wasn't
different
dramatic
challenge
enough. That's true.
later, yeah, is like they're able to get rid of the part where you leave someone, but it's still like interesting to show and film
Yeah,
or something.
it is. The second rope bridge is a little bit of like, I think the hardest part is probably Jeff going first, and then he's kind of making the bridge for everybody else. So you're
Mm-hmm.
probably right. It's not that hard. It's just going to be another moment where like he's going to pick somebody to come across, and then he might tell them like, okay, this is the situation, and then it's going to cause a discussion. Like it's going to be a whole dramatic.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it should be even more dramatic than the first time, because the first time wasn't even like guaranteed that they'd be eliminated.
Right. Now they
It
know
was
for
just,
sure.
this one is like guaranteed we are leaving. Like I have to physically cut the bridge. So, and then they have to like yell across, I had to. And they're like crying probably. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
gonna be a whole thing.
Okay.
So are the original question? How many people do you think are gonna make it? So there's 9.
Yeah, how many people what do you think the end game of this looks like?
So 16. We got 9 checkpoints. So that brings us down to 7. We already lost Tony, and we're gonna lose somebody at the next episode bridge, I believe. So
So
we're down to 5.
5 maximum.
We're down to 5 max, assuming there's no other things. 5 seems like a lot to oh, I mean, if they got all of it, it'd be like $200,000 each, which is pretty legit. But in terms of like feeling kind of cool as like, I don't know, I feel like 2 or 3 people making it to the end is kind of or
Okay.
one could be cool too. But I think it'd probably feel the coolest if like 2 people made it to the end. But 5
Okay.
seems like a lot to me.
Yeah, I agree.
If it got into 3, I feel like everybody's probably winning over $200,000 at that point, depending on how many people dropped out. I
Right,
think it's
right.
like how many. There's so many people that if they never got voted out, I don't think they would make it. Right? It's just a matter of, do
Yeah.
they vote them out before they do that? Like Bo, like I don't think Bo would make it. I don't think I don't think necessarily like Patty is gonna make it all the way to the end, 120 miles in 14 days.
Yeah.
Like there are some parts that look like legit climbing with like climbing equipment, and I think they're gonna get like those ice picks so they can climb up like ice
Oh,
walls at the
yeah.
end too. Like it, in terms of what they had to do, like the first leg is one of the easier legs.
Oh,
At
yeah.
least that's how they're
Uh-huh.
framing it, and I kind of leg 2 looks like it could be easy. I think they're just kind of traveling on top of. They have to do this rope bridge, but after that, I think they're mostly traveling on top of one of the peaks, and then in leg 3, I think they have to go like down a slope, and then so
Okay.
they don't have. I don't think it's not as steep of a climb in leg 2. So I don't know if leg 2, but at some point they're going to be like crossing lakes and climbing icy spots, so it's going to get way
Mm.
harder. So
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. It
Definitely.
depends on if they guaranteed are going to vote out 9. I'm kind of surprised. I'm kind of surprised that they would force an elimination on leg 2. It's kind of actually wild to
Mm.
me, because I would just assume some
Okay.
people aren't going to make it.
Mm.
But I guess they at some point they could just be like, due to this person not being able to make it, you don't have to vote anybody out at this checkpoint or something. They could
Yeah,
do that.
yeah.
They
They
could
could
do
call
that.
an audible.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely watching this. It's a good like with Survivor, I feel like I need to like, kind of get in the zone, and I want to watch it.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like if I'm gonna
Yeah,
watch
yeah.
Survivor, I'm gonna fucking
You got to
watch
pay
Survivor.
attention to
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Whereas this show is like, throw on an episode before we go to bed, and we can just kind of, if I miss some things, it's not a big deal. I get the
Yeah,
gist of
yeah.
it.
Mhm.
If my son distracts me while I'm watching it, it's no big deal. So
Yeah, makes sense.
it's a good show right now for us. You'll probably get through it in a couple of weeks of watching like one episode a night. So, or 1 week. It's not that many episodes.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, maybe we'll catch up. If we actually catch up live, I can watch. It's 3 hours back to back. 3 hours. It's 3 hours live to watch Survivor and the Summit back to back
Oof.
on Wednesday nights with commercials. Not really worth it though. Might as well just watch it next day. So yeah, all right,
Yeah.
yeah, fun
All right.
stuff. Now,
Mhm.
Sarah, have you thought about what we're watching next time?
I thought we already decided what we were
Oh,
watching
did
next
we? I
time.
probably threw something out, but I didn't. I never thought it was definitive. What was it?
Love After Divorce. We're doing
Oh,
another
okay,
Korean
okay, okay.
dating show that is of a slightly different age bracket.
Love is it? Oh yeah, Love After Divorce. All right, yeah.
There you go.
I know people have recommended this to us, and we're
Mhm.
watching season 4 because that's the season on Netflix, right? That's
Yes.
Okay.
They're making it as easy as possible.
Divorced men and women come together to date and cohabitate in an attempt to find love. Yeah, should be about right.
Mm-hmm.
It should be about the same.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Slight variations on a theme.
yeah, just the one episode, right? The 92 minutes, episode one.
Yeah, we should get what we need to know from that much.
Yeah, I hope we get the juicy details of these divorces.
The juicy details
of the divorces. Come on.
Do you think their exes are gonna have to write them a letter?
Oh yeah,
they'll have to read out loud.
Yeah, their divorced spouse should have to write their introduction letters.
I truly want a video message though instead, where you get to see the true like fury that they like or whatever, you know? That's what I want.
That'd be good. I mean, honestly, if they just wrote a letter and actually like wrote not nice things about them, that'd be pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
We'll see.
Yeah, let's do it. There's only 7 people on the show. I only see 7 people in the little screen. Maybe it starts at 7 and they add more.
Yeah. I mean, if it's an odd number, they gotta add somebody.
That's probably what it is. Yeah. All right. What do you think the age of these divorced people is going to be?
They're gonna be like.
Is there anybody in their 20s on the show?
There might be like one, and then I feel like everybody else is gonna be like later 30s. You know, well then if there's anybody in their late 20s, then there'll be a few early 30s. But I expected it to skew more 30s age bracket.
Okay, this might be the sweet spot of like, you know, truly our age group at this point, right?
Yeah, that's true.
The divorced people.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I can't relate to the divorced part, but you know,
exactly
similar age at least.
I'm not gonna have that experience similar to the 50-plus-year-old life experience in the last one. But all right, let's do it.
Cool.
All right. Anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. Where can people contact us, Sarah?
People can email us at keepwatchingpod@gmail.com. Tweet at us at keepwatchingpod. Instagram at us at keepwatchingpod. Leave a comment under this video on YouTube also at keepwatchingpod. And if you want to tell us, I don't know, if you would survive climbing this friggin' mountain, you can leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Are you team fast or team slow?
I'm team I died at the foot of the mountain. I'm not making it
You would have stepped in that first, like...
I would have stepped...
when they got their socks wet?
Literally, I would have stepped in a hole in the marsh and twisted an ankle. I do not belong outside.
I was thinking about that. Like, so I when I first started playing badminton a few years ago, I had like never twisted an ankle like severely in my life with all like the sports I played. Within like the first like month or two, I like severely twisted like one of my ankles to the point where I had to like crawl up the stairs for a couple of days and stuff. And then it got better enough for me to go again. And then within a month or two of that, I twisted my other ankle like really bad.
Oh.
So something about badminton was like fucking me up real bad. And now I just wear ankle braces like all and anytime I'm doing sports now. So I was thinking about this show, like I would definitely probably be wearing ankle braces on this show. Like the terrain that they have to walk over is like, you might just go down.
Yeah.
They're not running. I'd probably be fine. Like they don't have to run. It's in badminton. It's like the jumping. It's like the jumping and then trying to land and instantly start moving again. That got me. Yeah.
I twisted my knee getting out of a car by slipping on a wet leaf once. So.
Oh no, Sarah.
But to be fair, at the time I was taking a Krav Maga class.
There you
go.
You might have loosened it up in the Krav Maga class.
Well, I just mean like it's not like I've done nothing ever. You know, I was at least in a cool Krav Maga class. But
there you go.
Then that leaf made me stay out of Krav Maga for like a month because I fucked up my knee.
If you can Krav Maga, you can make it to the summit.
I can't Krav Maga anymore. That place closed down, and I haven't been back.
But
actually, it closed down.
Would you still go?
It closed. I would have went longer, but it closed down while I was healing that knee from that frickin' leaf.
Oh.
And then, there we go. That's it. Never to Krav Maga again, I suppose.
Speaking of Krav Maga, we didn't talk about everybody because some people weren't edited very well. Jenny on the show is an MMA referee.
Oh, she's the one with the cool, like, side shaved hair, right?
I think so. I was getting confused between
her and Pumpkin. I wasn't sure whose name was who.
No, it's Jenny. It's Jenny.
Okay.
Pumpkin. The only scene that I wrote down for Pumpkin was that she was talking to somebody at the Bivy camp, I believe.
I think she's talking to Dennis. Yeah,
and they was like they were talking about like where she got married or whatever, and they're like, oh, where did you meet him? And then she was like, it's a she.
I think she's
that
like,
was like
and that was the end of the scene.
Yeah, that was. It was like really awkward, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know like Pumpkin's age or what her occupation was. I just wrote she has a wife.
She is 33 and in the Air Force. Or
there you go.
I don't know. So there you go.
You got that from the wiki though, right? They didn't tell us that yet. The Air Force and the Black Hawk person, like look at all the connections Rose could have made if she just was like,
yeah,
like I drove Black Hawks in the military. Like I was in the Air Force. You know, there's a lot to bond here. Maybe Pumpkin wouldn't have voted for her.
Well, now we'll never know.
Yeah. Anybody else have a cool? Oh, Becky. Mm-hmm. Becky was a former Disney princess. I believe we saw her as Cinderella.
That's right.
Cinderella.
Yeah.
That came up on. I think I mentioned on the podcast, but Deal or No Deal Island. There was another person that was like a former. She looked like she would be like an Ariel. That she had red hair on that show. Yeah, but Becky Lee was this Cinderella. It looked like on the summit.
Yeah, I think she said she liked the attention.
She liked the attention, yeah. But then she traded in her princess shoes for steel-toed shoes and became a construction manager.
Yes.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's about it. There were other people I literally had no notes for in the show, but yeah.
They'll show up later.
Yeah, maybe. All right. Anything else, Sarah?
Right. I think we did it.
All right, we did it. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.
Bye.